Well, good morning, everyone. Today, we're going to be talking about cybersecurity. We've got over 35 people registered for this event, and so I'm hoping that we're going to have a lot of folks that come on live here in just a little bit. If you're just now joining us, if you would, please type in hello or good morning or some other nice salutation in the text chat box there, just to let us know that you're here. We're going to be giving away. We've got several people, a couple of comedians already in the chat box wanting to know if there's donuts and coffee. Not this morning, but we do have a Subway gift card worth $15 and a Chipotle gift card worth $20 that we're going to be giving away. So you guys are going to want to pay attention, because it's going to be a situation where we'll be going over some things, and then I'll ask a question, and the first person to put the most correct right answer into the chat box is going to win that.
Do I get a chance to play for that as well?
No, because you work for Computer Depot, and all Computer Depot employees are not eligible for such prizes. These are huge grand prizes here. Okay, so we've got to save these. So a few housekeeping things. Again, we're going to be talking about cybersecurity. We have the chat box on the side that you're more than welcome to put questions into if you'd like. We also have the section down at the bottom where you can put in questions down there if you'd like as well. I like to be interrupted during these cybersecurity seminars because there's always questions that kind of come up. So if you would, go ahead and put your questions in the chat box when you think of them or when they come up, and I will either answer them right away, or I may say, well, let me just get a minute on that. And we're gonna be answering that here very shortly, and so I may do that as well. So again, we've got just a few more people that are joining us here. For those of you that are already on here, we appreciate you being here on time and everything. And also just want to let you know that this webinar should not last more than an hour. We should have it, about 50 minutes or so typically, depending on how many questions that we have. In addition to that, at the end of the webinar, you will be emailed a link so that you can rewatch it, or you can send it to somebody else that might want to watch it and that kind of thing. So with me, I have today Wes Bruce. He is my senior security engineer at Computer Depot Business Solutions, and so he's going to be kind of on with us today to answer any technical questions and that kind of thing that might come up as we go. So with that said, we are going to go ahead and get started. So again, Thomas Hill with Computer Depot Business Solutions. We're a 25-year-old technology company that specializes in cybersecurity and help desk support for small businesses, and we're very proud to serve the East Tennessee area. We welcome any new visitors that we have with us today, so thank you for coming. All right, so I always start with all my seminars with this particular quote, and that is, "The biggest danger is your complacency." And this was said by Andrew Grove, who used to be the CEO of Intel. He says, "Success breeds complacency. Complacency breeds failure. Only the paranoid survive." Some of you are going to be thinking, man, that is one paranoid guy over there at Computer Depot. But this is the scary thing. Everything that I'm fixing to show you, we have actually seen at Computer Depot or one of its customers or something like that. So in other words, these are all real things that we have seen. And so I know you're thinking that, I'm going over the top here, but and I know this is very difficult to see on your screens. In fact, let me see if I can make that full size a little bit to make it a little bit easier to see. So anyway, this is the FBI's Special Cybersecurity Task Force statistics. And what's interesting about it is that it shows billions of dollars of losses, starting in 2015. you got $1.1 billion there. But then come 2017, it's at 1.4 billion, and then over a 2-year period, it balloons to 3.5 billion. And I just got done reading an article suggesting that by the end of 2021, because of COVID and some other things, because of COVID and people working from home and some other things like that, it's very well possible that we may be at $6.5 billion in cybersecurity losses. Just to kind of give you an idea, that far suppresses just normal, everyday, people stealing stuff from, Walmart or stealing stuff out of your house and that kind of thing. In other words, we've got more losses, more cyber losses than we do in actual physical losses now. So that's something to kind of keep in mind. So that's why we do these seminars, because this is a real big deal. So what exactly is a hacker? Wes, if you would bring up our hacker video, please.
What do you think of when I say the word hacker? Some creepy dude in a basement? Well, that's a misconception. What if I told you there's a class of hackers who don't just have social skills, they have more social intelligence than anyone you'll ever meet? David Kennedy is one of them. He's what's known as a social engineer, or a people hacker. His craft is to dupe you into doing things and sharing information you probably shouldn't.
Can I just get your credit card number?
Some use it for illegal activity. In David's case, companies pay him to find out if employees are leaving the company vulnerable. He and his team show us how it's done. Step 1, spoof his number so it looks like he's calling from inside the company, and then call tech support.
Hello, you there? Hello?
Hi, this is Ken. How may I help you?
I was wondering if you can take a look at a website I'm trying to get to. It's for a big customer thing I'm working on for Monday, and I can't seem to get to the website from my computer.
Sure. What's the website? I'll see if I can get to it.
Thanks, man. I really appreciate the help. I mean, it could be a stupid thing. I'm really stuck with computers, but so it's www.survey. That's SURVEY -pro.com.
Yeah, I got a prompt to open. I just clicked open, and I'm at the site now.
Here's what the IT guy doesn't realize. By clicking that link, he's just given David full access to his computer.
Whoa, okay, that's weird. I just hit it and it works. It seems like it's working fine now. Awesome. I don't know what you did, man, but I really appreciate the help.
Hey, no problem. That was easy.
That was it?
We're on his computer right now.
You were able to take over this guy's computer within, I would say, like under 2 minutes.
Under 2 minutes, yeah. Under 2 minutes, took over his entire computer, and think of it as not just his computer, but it's pretty much a downfall of the entire company.
In this case, the company was paying David to hack them and see if their employees would fall for it. They did. To show you this demo, we agreed not to use the company's name. Kennedy hacks to protect. He's part of a growing number of hackers using this skill for good. Josh Corman's one of them too. He started a group to help bridge the gap between hackers and big companies.
Hacking is a form of power. Not surprisingly, as you walked into my house and saw all the Spider-Man stuff, I'm a big fan of the Stan Lee line of with great power comes great responsibility. We're coming to a point where the outside world, with a breach a week, a breach a day, affecting people's personal lives and national security, we got to grow up a bit, and we need to be very deliberate about how we use that power.
Corman formed the group after his mom passed away.
She was my science teacher. She kind of taught me that darkness is the absence of light, cold is the absence of heat. You know, if you see something missing in the world, maybe it's our job to put it there. I think the world's going to be whatever we want it to be, and whatever we make it. There are very, very bad people, which means it falls to the good people to try to fight it.
You feel like you have a very personal responsibility.
We have so much potential to shape our culture, our values, our safety. If not us, then who?
All right. So, what is a hacker? You know, a lot of people consider a hacker to be somebody that's sitting in a basement and they're doing all this code and that kind of thing. And that's really just not the story anymore. You know, basically hacking is more of tricking users now into doing something that they normally wouldn't do. Okay. And so I like the quote that we kind of ended with. And you know, he says, with great power comes great responsibility. Okay. And That is a great quote, because what I'm doing for you today is I'm giving you the power. I'm giving you the responsibility to say no to hackers. Okay. And that is what we're going to try and teach here today. Okay. So social engineering is an attack vector that relies heavily on human interaction and often involves tricking people into breaking normal security procedures. Okay. So my question is, and so for the first gift card that we're going to give away is the $15 Subway card. So get ready to type in the chat box. The first question is social engineering is the #1 threat, and what percentage of all successful social security cybersecurity incidents are caused by you? Can go ahead and type in the talk. Okay, so Games and Things says 100%. Who else? Perrin Terry says 98. Ann says 100. Anybody else? Teresa Lippman says 90. Teresa, you are the winner. And unfortunately, I have a little slide that pops up usually, and it says 90% up there. But for some reason, my PowerPoint's not working properly on this webinar. So anyway, Teresa, you are absolutely correct. 90% of all successful cybersecurity attacks are caused because you or I or Wes or one of your employees or somebody has done something to cause it. Okay. So in other words, you opened a phishing email that you shouldn't have opened. You plugged in a USB drive you shouldn't have plugged in. You went to a website you shouldn't have gone to. Those kind of things. And so that's again why we're doing this. Hey, Wes, Brandon is being really loud. If you want to
I'll take care of that.
Wes is sitting in our command center, basically on Middlebrook Pike, and so he's got a lot of technicians around him. And of course, we love Brandon, but he does have a very booming voice. So we're going to go ahead and mute Wes for a little bit, so he's not getting me off track. So how does social engineering work? So basically, what happens is a cyber criminal gathers information. Okay, and they do that in various different ways. We'll show you how they do that here in a little bit. They plan the attack. They acquire whatever tools that they need to do that attack, which may be software, or again, it may be more information. They get the attack done, and then they take that information that they acquired during that attack, and then they just do it all over again. Okay, and again, we're gonna see this as we go forward here just a little bit. In fact, Wes, if you'll go ahead and start our start that video. I love this guy. Okay. So how did they do that? I mean, all they did was they liked them on Facebook. I mean, that's something that you and I do on a regular basis, right? So how exactly did they get so much information? Because that it's not like all that information is on Facebook, and surely we're guilty by putting a lot of information on Facebook, but not banking information and that kind of thing. So how did they do that? And so it really goes back to what we were kind of talking about before, which is cyber criminals. They plan their attack. They gather more information. They plan another attack. They gather more information, and so forth. And we see this every day. One of the biggest breaches in the United States was the Equifax breach. This was not more than 2 years ago. There is 320 plus million people in the United States, and almost half of Americans lost some sort of information because of this Equifax hack. And that's just one. Okay, so you take that and you combine that with all of the other hacks that you hear about on a regular basis. Marriott, of course, the Equifax, eBay, JP Morgan Chase, Home Depot, Yahoo, Target, Adobe, and the list just goes on and on and on. Okay, and so what's happening is what's happening is the cyber criminals are collecting all this information, and they're putting together these huge databases online. Okay, and they're storing them in what we call the dark web. Okay, the dark web is a large part of the internet that you don't see, and it's not Googleable. And so what happens is they're putting all this information in, and they see, okay, well, Thomas Hill, here's some information about him with an email address, and then maybe during the JP Morgan Chase hack, they were like, oh, well, here's Thomas Hill again with that same exact email information. Excuse me. And in addition to that, now I've got his date of birth, an old credit card, and where he lives, and then they put that information in there, and then down the road there's like, oh, well, here's Thomas Hill again at a Marriott, and now I've got his password from the Marriott account, and then they and so they're just constantly putting together all this information is what's happening. Okay. So the next thing that we're going to talk about is let's kind of see how social engineering works on a broader scale. If you'll go ahead and get that video started for us, Wes.
They're going to hack me using social engineering, which is essentially hacking without any code. They just use a phone and an internet connection.
Do you want to do a sample phishing call?
What's phishing?
Phishing is voice solicitation, and basically what you do is you use the phone to extract information or data points that can be used in a later attack.
Let's do it.
Okay.
Who are you going to call?
Maybe I'll call your cell phone provider and
Okay.
see if I can get them to give me your email address.
I bet they're good. I bet they have my back. But yeah, go for it.
I'm going to spoof from your number, so it's going to look like it's calling from you.
Okay.
Hi, I'm so sorry. Can you hear me okay? My baby, I'm sorry. my husband's like, we're about to apply for a loan and we just had a baby and he's like, get this done by today. So I'm so sorry. I can't call you back. I'm trying to log into our account for uses information, and I can't remember what email address we used to log the account. The baby's crying, and can you help me? Awesome.
In just 30 seconds,
At gmail.com?
Jessica gets access to my personal email address.
Now, if I needed to add our older daughter on our account so she could call in and make changes, how would I need to go about doing that? You would have to send me a secure PIN through a text message? Yeah, well, the thing is, I don't think I'll be able to receive a text message if I'm on the phone. Shh. Oh, I'm not on there either? So I thought when we got married, he added me to the account.
Jess uses my girlfriend's name and a fake social security number
5127.
to set up her own personal access to my account.
Wait, I'm sorry, so there's no password on my account right now? Can I set that up?
She even gets the support person to change my password.
Thank you so much for your help today.
So she just basically blocked me out of my own account.
I'll get her fed after this. All right, thank you.
Hey, Wes, I think I muted myself. Am I muted or no? Okay, I'm not. Okay, good. So I've got this little button on here. I've been pressing it by accident, so I just want to make sure that we're good. So anyway, that's basically how. And I think I've got that in the wrong order there, but that's okay. So that's basically how pretexting works. Okay, and so we're going to talk about the 5 methods of social engineering that we see on a regular basis. Okay, and so we're going to jump right down to number 4, which is pretexting, which is what we just watched there. And basically, pretexting is the idea of one party pretending like that there's someone else in order to gain information. This is a real big deal because we see this all the time in customer service type situations like this, and so that's why it's really important that you verify. And I know it's annoying a lot of times when you're calling your bank and they want to verify who you are and so forth, and that's why they're doing this is they're doing it so that they don't accidentally give you access to other people's information or give your information out to other people that they shouldn't be, and so that's what pretexting is. All right. Next one up is baiting, and I had a sample baiting video, but unfortunately that one is not working properly at all in this webinar. And so I'm going to tell you the story about Kevin Mitnick. We had talked about Kevin Mitnick just a little bit ago, and we had talked about where he's one of the first early hackers. Okay, and so this is back in the 80s, and he's like a teenager, young 20 something. Okay, and he basically invents hacking. In fact, he's so good, he's hacking into like AT&T and IBM and all these kind of places. And so very quickly, the FBI is like, "Ooh, we want to put this guy in jail." And so they caught up with him finally in his early 20s, and he did end up getting convicted and put in jail. The interesting thing about Kevin Mitnick is that this was so early in hacking, nobody really quite understood how it was done and that kind of thing. And the prosecutor convinced the judge that he was so dangerous that he would need to complete his prison term in solitary confinement. And the reason being, in fact, he spent 5 years in solitary confinement. And the reason being is because the prosecutor convinced the judge that he was so dangerous that if he got a hold of a phone, he would just have to whistle into the phone and he would be able to set off nuclear bombs. Okay. Now, of course, that seems really silly and far-fetched now, but in the early 80s when this was first going on, it was really kind of scary, what he was able to do. So now he's served his time. He now owns what we call a white hat hacking company, which is basically a company that he goes out and is hired to hack into other companies that hire him. So in other words, I had told you before that he was hacking into AT&T and IBM. Well, now AT&T and IBM are actually paying him to hack into their companies as a way to try and figure out where their vulnerabilities are. And one of the ways that he does this is through baiting. And basically the idea of baiting is that he will walk into an office. So let's just say AT&T, one of their branch offices or something. He'll walk into there and he'll ask for directions or something, and then he'll just drop a flash drive on the floor. And then he'll just leave. And then what ends up happening is one of the employees picks it up and looks at it and is like, "Oh, this is kind of weird. Wonder where this came from." And we're curious creatures, aren't we? As us Americans, we want to know stuff, and so we're nosy. And so we're like, "Well, what's on this flash drive? What could it be?" And so the very first thing they do is they plug it in, and that's a very simple way to get a payload delivered, so that they can either ransom that system or set up. Usually, most of the time, you're setting up a back door so that hacker can get in and do other things. So I've got the $20 Chipotle gift card here. My question for you is, how successful is Kevin Mitnick in hacking? So, if he is hired to hack into a company, how successful is he in getting into that company? Anybody want to? And Teresa, you're not going to be eligible for this one because you can't wear 2 gift cards, so that won't work. Okay, Karen Terry is our very first, and she says 100%, and she's absolutely right. So Karen Terry, we will make sure that we get this Chipotle gift card to you in the mail. Actually, Melissa will be reaching out to both Karen and Teresa to get their addresses if we don't already have them on file, and we will get those mailed to you. So yeah, so that just kind of shows you that there is no such thing as being 100% cyber secure. Basically, what that indicates is that, and you know, I'm so thankful for all the customers that we have. And I know you trust our services to make sure that you're 100% secure, but it's just not possible. Now, we've got some awesome tools in place. You know, we have you know, some of the best endpoint security out there. We have some of the best firewalls out there. You know, we're doing stuff in the background and making sure that your systems are staying up to date with patches and firmware upgrades and that kind of thing. But even with all of that, it is very possible that you could be tricked into some sort of a scam or a spyware of some kind that will bypass everything that we have in place and could do damage to your company. And so again, this is why we do these cybersecurity training seminars, so that you are aware of the things that can happen to your company, and in that you're aware of the different tactics that are being used. Because it kind of goes back to what I was saying before. You have to be paranoid about everything. And if you're paranoid about everything, then it's less likely that you will suffer an attack. So that's kind of where we're at there. All right. So the next one on the list is sample phishing emails. Okay. We are all really good at recognizing sample phishing emails, so I'm not going to spend a ton of time on this. I just want to point out a few things on here, though, and what I want you all to do is I want you to practice looking at what you think is a phishing email and trying to see if you can identify why it's a phishing email. Like I said, I know we all get a lot of these, and most of you probably know that it's a phishing email. Excuse me, sorry. But I want you to start practicing figuring out why. So in this particular one here, this is supposed to be from PayPal, letting you know that there's an update that needs to be done at some point. And as you can see from the email, you know, where it's coming from, it's clearly not from PayPal at all. Okay, so that's a dead giveaway there. The next giveaway on this particular one is, of course, it's not using your name, you know, so it's very generic. And of course, you know, the odd formatting. We've all seen that before, where it's, you know, broken English and that kind of thing. But the other thing that you can do is don't click on the links, but hover over the links. And if you hover over it, you'll see that it's not going to a PayPal site. It's going to some other site that got made up at some point. Okay. And so, so again, that's what I want you to do, is start looking at the phishing emails that you get in your inbox and try and figure out, you know, what it is that's that makes them fake. So here's another sample phishing. This one here is a little bit harder to see, and this is something that I need to bring up that's very popular right now, and that is cyber criminals are purchasing web names that look similar to the real thing, but are not. So example, and I know it's hard to see on your screen here probably, but this particular sample phishing email is coming from management at, and it's supposed to be amazoncanada.ca, but instead of Amazon, they left off the A, but you almost don't notice it because the @ sign is right there. And so, you know, your eyes almost think the A is there because of the @ sign. Okay. And so this is a real popular tactic that we're seeing a lot of right now. And so, you know, like we've had some customers that, you know, have had, they've not been hacked, but somebody has purchased the almost exact same web address or email address is what they're using, and just one letter is changed out of it. And unfortunately, there's not really very much that they can do about it. There's no law against that, unfortunately. And so, that's what I want to point out in this particular phishing scam is that, it almost looks like it came from Amazon, but it's not. And once again, here's another example of a link. It looks like that this is a good link, but when you hover over it, it's actually going to someplace completely different. So another really great example there. Now, this is what we call spear phishing. This is an actual spear phishing email that I got. And this is supposed to be from Cellular Sales, which is a pretty good sized company that has a really big office down in the Cedar Bluff area. and basically, he's wanting to try and purchase laptops from me. Okay. Now, of course, just as soon as I saw it, I knew that it was a phishing scam, a spear phishing scam, because, for one thing, we're not the kind of company that Cellular Sales would purchase laptops from. They're going to be using much larger, much bigger vendors and so forth. But what I wanted to do is I wanted to try and figure out, what on here made it into a phishing scam, and because this is the thing, it's spear phishing because it's got true information in it. Okay, so Brett Patterson, if you do a LinkedIn search, let me get a little more water. If you do a LinkedIn search, Brett Patterson really is the executive vice president of sales at Cellular Sales, and that really is his phone number, and that's the address and everything like that. So it all looks real legit. So can anybody tell me what is the telltale sign on this particular one that this is a spear phishing email? Anybody else? Okay, so Teresa says the email address. And says cellular is misspelled, is wrong. And you're absolutely right. So now this is the thing. I'm going to be 100% upfront with everybody. I'm a terrible speller. So it actually took me a couple of minutes to try and figure out what was wrong here. Because my brain was like, Cellular Sales. Yeah, what the hell? That seems right. But no, it's not. So you're absolutely right. The cellularsales.com is a purchased address, and all they did was they created an address, created an email, Brett Patterson at Cellular Sales with just one L.com. Oh, she says the phone number is too short on the phone. Is it really? No, I think it's right. Unless I'm just not doing the numbers right. Anyway, but too many. Yeah, it plays. Your eyes play tricks on you. So anyway, so that is exactly what's happening in this particular situation, and what they're hoping is that I'm just going to hit reply, and he's hoping that I'm going to order all these laptops for him, and then he's going to give me a bad credit card number, and I'm going to ship them to him, and that kind of thing. And that's a real popular scam that we see all the time. So again, this is a real thing that we see. All right, next one up. This is just another sample spear phishing. This one's a little bit harder to see. I know it's. I wish there was a way to make these screens a little bit bigger, but there's just not. But again, it's got his actual name in it. It's got information, and this particular one had to do with a. This is for a university, and they really were going through an IT upgrade at the time, as far as upgrading some things, and there was emails going out, and so the cyber criminals took advantage of that, and they, as you can see on here, which is right up here, they spoofed this email address. So it's udel@email.com when it should have been at gov or at edu.com. Yeah, right here. So this is the correct one right here, udel@edu.com. And so they basically made up an email address that's .email. And so again, it's just a spear phishing type of tactic. So that's what you really need to kind of pay attention on, is making sure that email addresses are 100% correct, web addresses are 100% correct, that kind of thing. All right, moving on. So this was the sample pretexting. So I do apologize. We actually showed that video just a little bit too early. So that was my fault on that. But basically the idea again in sample pretexting is that you're pretending to be somebody that you're not. All right. Next one up is sample scareware. Okay. So this is one that we see a lot, and this is a little bit different because it does not. It's not typically associated with an email. It's just typically associated with you're surfing the internet, and you come across something or click on something that you shouldn't have clicked on or come across. And there's a lot of different variations of this. Again, let me get a drink of water. There's a lot of variations of this. This is two popular ones here. One of them is, you've clicked on something and now you have a virus. This particular one here is the FBI. You've clicked on something you should have clicked on, and now the FBI is going to take you to jail, kind of thing. And they're asking you to clear this up with money pack, or in this particular one they want you to call this phone number. Now this is the thing. In these particular scareware attacks, your system is not infected at this time. Okay, so the way that these usually work is that at some point you're surfing the internet. Maybe you're on Facebook, maybe you're on like MSN News or something like that. And usually what happens is you end up clicking on something that you think is a news or you think is a valid, legitimate site to click on. But it turns out not to be, and it's because they're selling, especially like on MSN and Yahoo and some of these other places, they're selling ad space in like across the bottom or on the left hand side or right hand side or something like that. And what'll happen is the cyber criminals. Hang on a second. Okay, my throat gets really dry when I'm talking a lot. And so what happens is the cyber criminals will purchase these ads, and it'll be like something salacious of some kind, like lose 200 pounds in just 1 month or something like that, or check out the two-headed giraffe that was just born in Africa, and so it's just crazy stuff that we want to click on and see. I want to see this two-headed giraffe, and what ends up happening when you click on it, some sort of a scareware type tactic pops up like this. And again, your system is not infected at this point, okay? Again, this is just a way that a cyber criminal is trying to get you to do something you wouldn't normally do, okay? Either click on the link or call the 800 number. And if you do those things, you click on the link or call the 800 number, then at that point your system will be infected. But if you get to one of these screens and you don't do anything at all, okay, except just hit Control-Alt-Delete, and you'll get the task manager that pops up, okay? And when the task manager pops up, all you're going to do is that you're using, whether it's Internet Explorer or Chrome or Safari or whatever it is, just find the task, the browser you're using, click on it, and hit End Task. Once you do that, that screen will shut down. I would probably recommend going ahead and doing a restart of the computer, and you should be perfectly safe and fine at that point. Wes, do you know what the keystrokes are for the Mac users are?
I don't remember the shortcut, but if you hold the Apple logo and the space bar and click those two, you can just type it out real quick and it'll pop it up for you. That's what I usually use for it.
For the search. So
just a quick search.
And then type in Task Manager.
Yep.
Okay. So yeah, it's same thing happens on a Mac. If you get something that pops up like that, just simply go to the Task Manager, and then once the Task Manager comes up, just find whatever browser you're using and kill it. Okay. All right. Let's see here. And again, if there's any questions that pop up, please be sure to either throw them in the chat or throw them in the open questions at the bottom, and I'll be happy to come back to those. We're moving kind of fast here because I know it's kind of hard to interact on these things, but we're actually kind of coming up to the end here shortly. So So be thinking about those questions if you have them. All right. So one of the next sections that we're going to talk about is bank fraud. and this is one of the reasons that we're seeing a huge amount of increase. So, this is the bank fraud primarily is why we talked about the FBI statistics where we were at 3.5. I'm sorry, we're at 1.7 billion, and now it's at 3.5 billion. It's ballooned almost twice, and they're expecting it to go to 6.5 billion here by the end of 2021. And it's primarily because of bank fraud. And what's happening is there's several different ways that is happening. There's invoice scams, CEO scams, and HR scams. Okay. The money is primarily happening with the invoice and the CEO scams. And what those are is you'll get an email, again, coming from someplace that's not really coming from. So in this particular situation, if you look up here at the email address, it's come from QuickBooks at equipsales.com. Okay, well, QuickBooks it should actually be equipsales at quickbooks.com is what it should actually say, or something similar to that. And so this did not come from QuickBooks, because this is the address. The Equip Sales is supposed to be the QuickBooks, so they got it flipped. But again, they make it look real, and so they're like, hey, you have to pay this balance, and you just click on this link right here, and you can put your checking account information in there, and we'll get it taken care of. And what ends up happening is they end up cleaning out your checking account, is what ends up happening. In fact, we just had a situation here not too long ago from a local company that one of their customers got a fake email, and it was this same kind of invoice scam, and it was for about $54,000, a little over $50,000. And basically, it said something in the nature of, "Hey, we've got your next shipment ready to go, but I just noticed that you haven't paid for the other one, and so I need you to go ahead and pay for that real quick so we can get this one shipped out on time." And the problem is with this particular customer, that was kind of true, and that was kind of the amount of stuff that they ordered at the time was somewhere in the $40,000, $50,000, $60,000 range. And so they clicked on the link and paid it. The problem is they paid the cyber criminal. It took them a few days to figure out exactly what happened, but once they figured out what happened, then of course this customer comes back to the original company and says, "Well, you're the one that sent me this email." Excuse me again. And this was just a situation where their email password, somebody in the accounting department, their email password had gotten stolen. And we have seen a huge increase in that lately, where email passwords are getting stolen. That is one reason why we are highly recommending that customers switch to a two-factor authentication process. Wes, can you just speak to how two-factor kind of works for those that don't know?
Sure. So two-factor is basically you're taking what would already have in place the password for your email, and you're adding something to it to where, like, after you type in the password, it's going to say, "Okay, now tell me the code," and you're going to receive a code on your phone. Or an even better method is use one of the authentication apps that generate codes periodically, and you can just open that app up, type in that code, and allow you to access it. And so if the person has your password but they don't have your phone with the app on it that has the code, then you're still safe.
Yeah, and so the problem is because passwords are getting stolen so much now, we are really recommending that our customers switch to two-factor on everything that they could possibly switch to. And so that's why there. Okay, sample CEO attack. It's kind of the same type of thing. In this particular situation, I had a customer, this isn't the exact same email that they had, but I had a customer that their home account had gotten hacked, and the cyber criminal was able to get on to their calendar. And the thing is if you're like me, you have your home calendar and your work calendar synced. And in this particular CEO did. And what ended up happening is the cyber criminal waited until the CEO went on vacation to Hawaii. And of course, the cyber criminal knew that he went on vacation to Hawaii because it was in his calendar that said, leaving for Hawaii on Sunday or whatever. And so what happened was the cyber criminal sent out an email first thing Monday morning or maybe Sunday night or something like that. And it basically said, hey, Tom, I was in such a hurry to get out of town to go to Hawaii and everything that I completely forgot that we're supposed to send a $10,000 deposit to this particular account for an order that we're expecting. And that order is held up right now. I need you to take care of it. Well, the thing is everything sounded legit. And so the CFO, the guy named Tom, which I made that name up for you, by the way. Anyway, he had no reason to doubt that this wasn't his boss because it all sounded legit, and he went ahead and wired $10,000 to this particular cyber criminal. A few days later, when the boss called in to see how everything's going, Tom was all proud of everything, and he was like, "Yeah, I got that taken care of for you. It shouldn't be a problem." And of course, the boss is like, "I have no idea what you're talking about." And after a while, they pieced it together and realized that a cyber criminal had gotten in, but not into his business, had gotten into his home account that was linked to his business calendar that allowed the cyber criminal to orchestrate this whole cyber crime. So we see that happening a lot. And then the last one, rather, is the sample HR scam. And this happens a lot during tax season. You have people that call in, pretexting, basically saying, "Hey, this is your bookkeeping company. We need you to send over the QuickBooks file that has, all of your employee information and that kind of thing." And so again, you should be aware of these type of scams that are happening on a regular basis. All right, so the very last thing that we want to talk about is passwords. So Michael Crane is our insurance guy. He's here local, and he provides us with our insurance and cybersecurity insurance and all that kind of thing. And so he provided me with a list of the most popular passwords that are used on people's computers as of 2017. I haven't gotten a recent one from him lately, but as you can see, there's a lot of folks on here that still use password and log me in and 1 2 3 4 5 and that kind of thing. I'm hoping that most of us know that we're not supposed to be using these kind of passwords. But what I want to challenge you all on is that I believe that most Americans have 3 passwords that they use on a regular basis. Now, when you say 3 passwords, it may not be the exact same 3 passwords. It may be like the core password and then like a explanation point or an @sign or something like that added to it. So it might have a or a 1 or an A or some other letter. So it might have a little bit of a twist to it. But what I have noticed is most people only have 3 passwords, and they just change them up a little bit. Okay, but this is the problem. So remember going back to all those data breaches that we were talking about before. And in those data breaches, the cyber criminals are collecting information, and then they're putting it with the information that they already have, and then they attack again, and then they're collecting more information, and then they're putting it with the information that they have. And so what I'm finding is that 40% of people that do a dark web search on their email addresses have passwords that are actually on the dark web being bought and sold right now. And so the reason that this is important, so have you ever gotten a phishing scam for your Netflix account, for example? Like cyber criminals sent in a thing, and it's like, "Hey, there's something wrong with your Netflix account. We need you to sign in to verify that it's working properly," or whatever. Excuse me, sorry. Most of you have probably said, "Oh, this is a phishing scam," that kind of thing. But have you ever wondered why exactly do they want your Netflix password? I mean, do you really care if they get on and mess up your favorites or something like that? Well, this is the thing. Cyber criminals, they don't really care, whether they get access to your Netflix account or your Hulu account or Pandora or Spotify or whatever. That's not where it's not like they're going to make money off of that. But most cyber criminals believe the same thing that I do, which is that most people only have a couple of passwords. And so their thinking is if they can get a hold of your Netflix account password, then there's a strong possibility that password will work in your email account, or it will work, for your Chase credit card account, or for your Sevier County home loan account, or whatever it is. And that's what they're counting on. They're counting on that. You have reused that password multiple times. Okay. And so that brings us to the very last slide, which is what is a strong password? And usually what I tell people is, at least in years past, I've said, you got to have at least 12 characters and make sure that it's got, an explanation point and, a number and lower and uppercase and all these kind of things. But the problem is we have so many passwords right now. I probably have 250, 300 passwords on different accounts that I manage. Some of them are just, silly accounts like my Netflix account, but some of them are serious accounts, like my banking accounts and my, home mortgage or my healthcare accounts or whatever. And so it's literally impossible to remember 200 plus different passwords. And so that's why we now recommend that everyone get some sort of a password app. We like LastPass quite a bit. It's LASTPASS.com. They have paid versions, but they do have free versions that work very well. And with your LastPass account, you will be able to store all of your passwords. And it will autofill. So if you go to your bank, SevierCounty.com or whatever, or if you go to Blue Cross Blue Shield to do your healthcare or whatever it is, it will automatically fill that in for you, and so that gives you an assurance that you're on the right website for one thing. But then also a really nice thing about it is that we all have a hard time figuring out, well, gosh, it wants a password and I can't use the same password that I've already used, but I can't think of anything. And it has a very nice password generator built into it. And so it will literally generate the password for you and then drop it into the password box and then save it for you. So that the next time that you go back there, it will automatically fill in and you'll have it. So my best advice for you is make sure that you use a different password on every site that you're on. And the only way you're going to be able to do that is by using some sort of a password utility. Wes, have I
Hey, Tom. Well, I was just going to say, just the biggest question we get on this one is, yeah, but what if, somebody gets access to this manager, then they've got all my passwords, and there's always a risk to things. But if you add a really strong password to your password manager that, you only have to remember that one password, and then you add two-factor authentication to it, the chances of them accessing that through your password and two-factor is very, very low. And on the other side of it, you get these companies that have data breaches, and you're thinking, what if LastPass has a data breach? Well, that's actually happened in the past before, and they recovered all these encrypted passwords. And when they recovered encrypted passwords, they basically got gibberish because LastPass doesn't actually have your actual passwords. They just have this encrypted gibberish that you can access with your authentication, but LastPass can't see it, and people that grab this database of information can't use it. So it's not completely foolproof. If somebody gets your phone with an app on it and learns your password and gets to your computer and all these factors fall into place, then sure, it is possible, but it's a whole lot better than password 123 and then password 1234 for the next account.
Yeah, absolutely. Because again, it's I promise you, if we do a dark web search on any of you, there's a strong possibility that you've got passwords that are being bought and sold on the dark web right this minute. And so that's why it's important to use different passwords for different accounts. So, all right. Well, with that, I promise that we try and keep it to 50 minutes. We got to 55. I guess I talked a little long on a few things, so I apologize. I hope that this cybersecurity seminar was useful for you. I didn't get any additional questions that popped up, but two things. First of all, you can always email me if you have a question that pops up in your mind later on. And of course, you all probably already know my email address, which is thill@computerdepot.online.com. But even if you don't, at the end of this webinar, you will get emailed a copy of this webinar so that you could watch it again later if it was just that riveting for you and you wanted to watch it again. Then you're more than welcome to go ahead and do that. But it also will have my contact information on there so that if you have any additional questions, we will be happy to take care of those for you. So we certainly appreciate all of our customers that were on here with us today, and all of our new visitors that were with us today. It was a great time to talk about cybersecurity, and just go out there and have a great day today, folks. So thank you so much.